As I stated in my previous video, I think it's really a shame that Diablo Immortal has dominated so much of the gaming news lately and seems to be very much overshadowing the Nintendo Switch port of Diablo 3. So that's exactly what I want to talk about today. If you're unfamiliar, the Diablo series, Diablo 3, is an ARPG. You select a class and set out on an adventure where you'll slay thousands, if not millions, of demons in a war between heaven and hell. The focus is on turning your character from a weakling to a world beater. Through leveling up, acquiring new gear and abilities, you'll see your character go from struggling to fight off a few zombies to being able to take on legions of hell's strongest minions. I've gone on record saying this is, in my opinion, the best ARPG going right now. There are a few other titles on the market, such as Path of Exile, that may offer some more robust choices in terms of character progression, but I still prefer Diablo 3. Now, when the game launched, I'll admit it was pretty terrible. It took a long time, a major expansion, tons of updates to get it where it is today, which I do think is a game worthy of that Diablo name. And now it's portable. You can send these demons back to hell on the go, on the toilet, wherever. And as a Switch port, I've got to say, I'm extremely impressed with this game. I've played the game briefly on other consoles, but primarily on PC, and I'll still say I think it plays best with a mouse and keyboard, more so an MMO mouse. That's how I play it, with all the buttons on the side, so I don't even have to touch the keyboard. But they did a fantastic job transitioning the gameplay to consoles, giving it a major overhaul to the point where when you play this game on home console, even if you've played it a bunch on PC, the console port feels like a game meant for consoles. It doesn't feel like a game meant for PC that they just cobbled together with console controls. These versions feel great to play, and that does not change with the Switch. But with the Switch, obviously, you get that portability factor. But as you'll also know, that means a bit of sacrifice in terms of performance versus other consoles, and here's where I am, as I said, extremely impressed with this version. The game runs magnificently on Switch, and I tried to beat on it. I really did. I got some friends together, spawned a bunch of pets, did as much as I could to flood the screen with stuff going on during the early levels as I could to see if the system could take it. And this baby, she held together. You'll see some dips in that during really chaotic moments. If you have a bunch of wizards with spells flying around all over the place, it may hurt things a bit more. But yeah, I've done several hours of this with online multiplayer, and it was awesome. And speaking of, the online was really stable too. I had a couple of sporadic disconnects, but those can also be as a result of just the host leaving and then errors in finding a new one, which sucks, but no problems really in terms of lag or anything like that that would hinder the overall experience. So if you're thinking about picking this up to play with your buddies, I think you can feel safe in having some stable games together, if you want to start making use of that Nintendo Online subscription too. And keep in mind, you're also at a huge advantage in this game if you play with others. You get special item find and XP boosts for every additional player in your game. So I'd recommend playing with others, even if it is through a random quick match. And again, I think it's just more fun having more players, more enemies on the screen, making things more chaotic. I will say though, this can all be a bit taxing on the Switch's battery life. I think if you're going to go hardcore into this game, definitely expect this game to be on the lower end of the playtime spectrum, more akin to the 2 hours or so that you'd get from a game like Breath of the Wild. Despite the memes, I think the gameplay model also makes it a great game to have on a portable on the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, you can sit down and spend hours playing it without realizing it. This is one of those games where when you get into the groove of things, it's really easy to lose track of the time. But there are modes like Rifts that, if you want to, you can only play for a couple minutes and still be getting stuff done. In Rifts, you just spawn into a randomly generated dungeon and have to kill a certain amount of enemies to spawn the Rift Guardian. Kill him and you'll get some solid rewards, gold, XP, all that jazz, but you could beat an individual Rift in probably a couple minutes. So there are options for those quick pick up and play type situations. Again, more so for those unfamiliar, these games are very grindy, or at least they can be. That's the way of this genre in general though. No microtransactions or anything, so anything you get here, you earned, and same goes for everyone else. but most put a big emphasis on getting their characters as strong as possible, which means you can dump thousands of hours into slaughtering demons if you want. And if that sounds like you gameplay-wise, I don't think it gets much better than D3 in terms of actual combat in an ARPG. All the skills and abilities feel so good to pull off, so powerful, and it doesn't really have to be that grindy if you don't want to get too deep into that aspect. There's a good amount of fun to be had if you just want to play through the campaign and do side quests. As I kind of mentioned in my last video about Diablo, I really like the lore in this series, and you'll get a good amount of it by venturing off the beaten path, discovering hidden corridors and such. You'll often come across these various texts that will delve into the backstory of the world, but fear not, you don't have to actually read these texts. They're more like audiobooks that are read to you by major characters in the game, and the voiceovers will just start to play right after you pick them up without interrupting the gameplay, which I really like, so you can keep tearing foes to pieces while getting these little bedtime stories of sorts read to you. It's great. All in all, if you enjoy these types of games, I think Diablo 3 on Nintendo Switch is a must-play. I've put thousands of hours into this game on PC and have been long done with it, but the Switch version has totally pulled me back into it. For those who aren't really into these games, or just maybe you haven't been exposed to these types of games before, I think this is the best title you can jump in with. It does a great job of easing you into things in the beginning so you have a good handle on everything when the game gets really crazy later on. And before I forget, let's talk a little bit about the value, the price of this game, because I do like to criticize that a lot with many of the Switch games. And I've seen plenty people take issue with this game costing $60 in the US. I would reiterate that the original cost of the base game was $60, and the expansion was $40, I think, and the Rise of the Necromancer pack was $15. So you are getting everything packaged together at a reduced price, but the game, I understand, yeah, it's still kind of old. But also it is still, in my opinion, the best one going in this genre. And how well they got this thing to play and run on the Nintendo Switch, yeah, it just really blows me away. Like, I expected to feel like I'm playing a much lesser version, and I don't. Sure, the visuals may not be as high quality, some lacking detail with the characters and environments, but when you have like a bazillion guys on the screen all fighting, those minor visual differences aren't very noticeable. What would be noticeable is if the game started chugging during these moments, dropping to like 10 frames per second, but it doesn't. It somehow manages to maintain a fairly stable 60. I don't know how, but it does. So if this sounds like a game you may be interested in, if you are just waiting to see how it runs on Switch, wait no longer, go out and buy it. And if this would be your introduction to the Diablo series or into ARPGs in general, and it sounds intriguing, I'd say give it a shot. You're not going to get any other way to play Diablo on the go until Immortal comes out, and I feel pretty safe in saying that this game, putting the full Diablo 3 experience, no sacrifices, no compromises, onto the Nintendo Switch, will still be a far superior experience to Diablo Immortal on your phone when that game drops. And with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on Diablo 3 for Nintendo Switch in the comments. Are you currently playing the game? How do you like it? And if not, are you interested in picking it up? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of the good portable Diablo game. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at Johnny Zakari and join my Discord, Shy Guy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.